So hey there, this is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist, and welcome to the Common Constitutionalist weekend video podcast. And I'm on location, kind of out in the woods, taking a hike, and I decided it's the first lovely day of the summer, or excuse me, of the spring up here in New England. And so I've decided, since it's like 70-something degrees out, hooray, about time, that I would get outside, take a hike, and at the same time, when I feel like stopping, I'm going to stop, sit on a rock, and film the podcast. So, oh, and by the way, we're going to talk about Korea, North, South Korea, the leftist media, President Trump, all that happy stuff today on the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast.
You are listening?
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment-backed helicopters.
While I'm hiking through, waiting to set up, probably at the top of this next ridge, I'll set up and I'll do my podcast from there. Look at this nice little pond over there, heading up onto a creek. But a few tips for novice hikers, even expert hikers. I don't know whether I'm an expert, but we do a lot of hiking, and we're pretty good at it. Never do this on your own like I'm doing. Never hike on your own. Too much could happen. You could fall. See this hill? I'm coming back down this hill on my way back from podcasting. I slip on a single rock, I fall down here and break my head, and I'm passed out or dead. Well, dead, it really wouldn't make any difference now, would it? But if I'm passed out, I break my leg or arm or something, gash my head, something like that, something that I can't fix myself readily, I'm in deep crap. Also, bring a cell phone. But you can't really rely on a cell phone, because if you get out into the hinterlands, it may not work. Electronics, these devices, GPS, navigation, beacons, cell phones, all that kind of crap, when they work, they're great. If the battery's dead, something happens to it, falls in that little creek, whatever the crap, doesn't work, can't depend on it. So don't depend on it. But first and foremost, never go hiking out here like I'm doing by yourself, particularly if you're in an area that you're not familiar with. So, that being said, my son and I hike these trails and these hills and stuff all the time, and so I'm very familiar with them. I know the pitfalls and everything that can occur, and so I don't have a whole heck of a lot to worry about other than just boneheaded mistakes. One boneheaded mistake I did was I forgot my cell phone. So if something does happen, I gotta hike my sorry fanny back to my car, which is at least 2 miles that way. And if I'm in tough shape, I'll be in a lot tougher shape when I get there. So don't do this by yourself. Also, when you're out hiking in the wilderness, frankly, if you're hiking through a city park, it's the same dang thing. Always carry a sidearm. But at any rate, the most important thing is always carry a weapon with you, because you just never know, and never hike on your own. And take your time. Don't be in a rush, and just take your time and enjoy the great outdoors. So we're almost here, ready to set up at the top of this ridge, and that's it, man. Okie dokie. So I'm sweating a little bit. That's what happens, but I love it. Yay. Take this any day over the 10-15 degree winter with mountains of snow or no snow, ice, sleet, whatever, yuck. I'll take this every day of the year. Well, actually about 10 degrees warmer I'll take. But at any rate, that's beside the point. The video podcast of Brent Smith, the Common Constitutionalist. This is the weekend podcast, and we're going to talk Korea. Let's talk Korea. Got my notes. Hopefully my sweat will stay out of the eyes, but that's okay. So the left is, once again, just as predictable as the sun coming up. They just can't see fit to giving Trump even a modicum of credit for frankly, for anything, much less Korea. If somehow Trump found a cure for cancer, but say the cure for cancer, all cancers, had a side effect that would make every patient colorblind, I would trade cure for cancer, colorblind any day of the week. But the headline of the Washington Post would read, "Trump condemns citizens to life of monochromatic misery." It wouldn't say anything about a cure for cancer, nothing. That's what they would say if Trump happened to find a cure for cancer. So, that being said, let's talk Korea. The Korean War began June 25th, 1950. It's the longest war America will ever be involved in my opinion. That's 68 years, folks. Now, some might say it's the longest of its kind in modern history of any wars, but that would be a Rooney. Israel was founded in 1948. They've been at war ever since. All right, so that predates us by a couple of years. So there you go. But that's beside the point. Again, still 58 years is a daggum long time. Throughout all those, and again, throughout all those decades, we've had 12 presidents since the Korean War began. From Truman up through Obama, not counting Trump. Trump is the 13th. And we actually have absolutely nothing to show for it on the Korean Peninsula. That's it. Okay, ever since the Korean War began, this is what we've ended up with, a stalemate, and we have absolutely nothing to show for it except for a nuclear North Korea and millions of dead and starving North Koreans. That's what we have to show for our efforts of 12 presidents and administrations and all the political hacks and whatnot that joined them in the effort. So, every president since has treated North Korea with kid gloves, with way more respect than they deserve. That's for sure. No matter whether it was Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, or Kim Jong-un, or Kim Jong whoever, it doesn't make it. Well, there is only three, but hey, whatever. You know what I mean. All except for Reagan. The left, at least those who were alive back in 1983, they blame Reagan for North Korea developing nuclear weapons, for their development of nuclear weapons program. And the reason why they blame Reagan is because he invaded Grenada in 1983, or Grenada, however way you Grenada, let's call the whole thing off. So Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un's grandfather, used the island invasion as a public excuse for starting nuclear weapons research. That was the excuse, okay? Because of paranoia, because we attacked Grenada, and Grenada's commie socialist leaders at the time were allied with North Korea. North Korea actually supplied weapons to Grenada to fight the United States even back then, and obviously they lost in short order. I mean, as anyone would predict or expect. But this was the excuse that Kim Jong-il, or Kim Il-sung, freaking Kim used to start their nuclear program, because we invaded Grenada, and Grenada was an ally of North Korea. So naturally, since we invaded Grenada to rescue our 600 student hostages, we were going to invade North Korea for what? I don't know. No reason, because we're colonialists. There you go. That's the ticket. So basically, Kim was just looking for an excuse, and any excuse would do. And if it hadn't have been for Grenada, he would have just used some other excuse to start his nuclear proliferation. And virtually all administrations, if they attempted anything, they all attempted anything with North Korea and dealing with North Korea, it was always the same thing. Diplomacy. We got to talk about it. Let's talk out. Let's talk our problems out, shall we? Kim, whichever Kim happens to be alive at the time, let's just talk about it, shall we? Despite history telling us that diplomacy never works with diplomacy can never work with your enemies. Okay? When you have an enemy, you have a winner and a loser. And after the enemy has lost to you, then you go in and then you can inject diplomacy, but not until you win the war. Diplomacy doesn't work with enemies, it only works with friendly nations. Between friendly nations, you can send diplomats and have ambassadors and whatnot, and they get together and have coffee and drinks and whatever, and decide the way you're going to go forward in a partnership. Well, you can't do that with an enemy. So diplomacy is bullcrap, and it always has been, and it's just a leftist ruse that pretty much everybody is bought into. Shall we take a break? Yeah, let's take a quick break. Be right back. Yeah. Love the great outdoors. Yay for me. Okay, so before the break we were talking about the wonderful diplomacy between enemies, which never works. It's historically never worked. Not even one time can anyone name me once where two enemies got together and diplomatically solved the problem. What about us in the Soviet Union? Well, that was mutually assured destruction. That's a funny kind of diplomacy. If you got mutually assured destruction, that ain't diplomacy, okay? It just isn't. So anyway. But then along comes Trump, and he doesn't understand that you're not allowed to be tough on your adversaries, that you have to be a diplomat, and you have to cow to them, and you have to, work with them and find common ground and all that other bull crap, that you can't just threaten them and you can't be tough with them. You got to negotiate, because that works really so well, as we've already established. It's never worked ever once. Thankfully, Trump, he came into this as a businessman, not a diplomat, not a politician, so he doesn't know what he doesn't know, all right? So he throws it, instead of being a diplomat, North Korea threatens something and he throws it right back in their face, and ups the ante on Kim Jong-un. And the whole world explodes like it's going to be egads. It causes the diplomatic crowd, which is basically all of Washington, into a tailspin of despair, and Trump is going to start World War III. Well, funny thing, where have we heard this before? We heard this same dadgum argument from the radical left, from the Ted Kennedy left, back in the 80s, during Reagan, the cowboy. He was unhinged, threatening the Soviet Union, calling them a bunch of names, walking out at the negotiations in Reykjavik, Iceland. Oh, that was going to be that was going to be the apocalyptic end of the planet. And guess what? Nothing. Not a shot was fired in the Soviet Union. Was Kaputsky. That's it. Ha ha, get it? Kaputsky? Yeah, baby. Little Ruski humor. Yeah. Okay, so they were wrong then with Reagan, and they're going to be wrong now. All right, regardless of what happens, they're going to be wrong now. Strong-arm dictators and terrorists, communist dictators and terrorist leaders, they understand two things: power and force. I suppose one thing, same type of difference. They don't care about diplomacy. They don't care about finding common ground. Okay, they just don't. Their common ground is, you give up and we won't kill all of you. That's the common ground. That's something that we can compromise on. Or, you give up and we'll kill you last. Yeah, okay, where do I side? It's silliness is what it is. Alright, so anywho, but the thing is that Kim Jong-un, actually, that's the thing, is that the Soviets, and the leftist media at the time, believed Reagan would actually push the button. He would actually start nuclear Armageddon. They believed he was that crazy. Kim believes that Trump is that crazy. Now, why does he believe that? What could possibly give him that notion? I don't know. Maybe he watches CNN. Maybe he watches MSNBC. Maybe he watches any number of, or looks at radical leftist websites. They're all the same. Maybe he reads the Washington Post and the New York Times. They all say the same thing, that Trump is going to start Armageddon, and he's the one at fault here, not Kim Jong-un. He has to back off his position and be more diplomatic. Well, bull crap, he does not. So, on that, to that, the lefty UK Independent, yeah, really independent, whoa baby, wrote this, quote, U.S. President Donald Trump has taken some credit for the peace agreement between North Korea and South Korea. This is the one they just signed, and they did that big, hands in the air type, woo, with the portly Kim Jong-un. That guy needs to have one less sandwich a day. Any rate, so, and what's he drink? Johnny Walker Blue or whatever. Okay, so anyway, quote from the UK Independent. U.S. President Donald Trump has taken some credit for the peace agreement between North Korea and South Korea, but experts mind you, of course they're experts, have said he deserves little of it, unquote. Well, what experts? You mean the ex-State Department experts that are all through Washington and all through the media and all the other career bureaucrats that think they know best, that have basically gotten us into this position? You mean those freaking experts? Yeah, those damn experts. All they are experts at failure and giving away the store and getting nothing in return. That's what they've been expert at over the past who knows how many freaking decades. Ridiculous. So, the Independent, so independent. Independent continues, quote, in a historic and opulent ceremony, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Moon River, met in the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, to sign the Panmunjom Declaration for Peace, Prosperity and Unification of the Korean, well, that ain't gonna happen, whatever, of the Korean Peninsula during the Inter-Korean Summit and officially ended the war. Officially ended. This is what a load of crap. And officially ended the war that began when the North and South split in a battle of communism and democracy that began 25 June 1950, unquote, as I said before. Yeah, baby. So, anywho, they continue. Quote, after the summit on Friday morning, the U.S. president, that would be President Trumpster, immediately tweeted, Korean War to end, all in caps, exclamation point, baby. The United States and all of its great people, that'd be us, great people. May if the earl live, not you. Just kidding. All of us great people, not just some of us. All of us great people should be very proud of what is now taking place in Korea, unquote, implying that he played an important part in it. Where does it say I did this? Korean War ended, the United States and all of its great people. Does it say, and I did this? No. Okay. Well, let's continue then. Maybe he did do this. Well, he did, actually. Quote, when I began, people were saying that this was an impossibility, unquote, Mr. Trump said in a meeting with U.S. Winter Olympic athletes who participated in this year's games in South Korea. Quote, they said there were two alternatives. They said, the famous they, let them have what they have or go to war. And now we have a much better alternative than anybody thought even possible, unquote. And he's absolutely right to a point. But don't think that he's being lulled into some nonsense or fooled like Clinton or somebody, or seems like every other predecessor before him that goes on Kim Jong-un's promises. We give him a bunch of money, a bunch of oil, and a bunch of tech, and he turns around and magically turns it into a nuclear weapon stockpile. Well, Trump isn't going to let that happen. I am not a Trump sycophant, but I am become a Trump fan. Because I like the way he, I mean, I don't like I've said this 1,000 times, I don't like his tweets, I don't like his attitude sometimes and things like that, but I'll tell you, he's getting the dadgum job done because nobody knows how to deal with this guy because he's completely new. He's completely different, and I'm falling off my rock here. What the crap? I'm off my rocker. Ah! So anyway, let's take another quick break, and we will probably wrap this baby up. Yeah, I can continue my hike, and it'll be fun because it's a glorious freaking day, baby. Be right back. All right, I'm back, and we're going to wrap this bad boy up. So anyway, the UK Independent was writing about what a cowboy jerkweed Trump was, and how he has no idea what he's doing, and he's going to lead us all into Armageddon, World War III, and so on and so forth, and that he's just all full of himself by saying the United States and all of its great people should be very proud of what's now taking place in Korea. And when I began, people were saying that this was an impossibility. And that's exactly, and they're still saying it's an impossibility, and they're saying that Kim Jong-il, the smart guy Kim Jong-un, is going to make Trump look like a fool. Well, I'm sorry, but maybe before the campaign, or maybe during the campaign, when I was a dyed-in-the-wool Cruz guy, well, dyed-in-the-wool Constitutional guy, and Cruz was the closest thing to the Constitution, so that's why I supported him, and not Donald Trump at that time, I would have said, yeah, maybe some low life like Kim Jong-un could make a fool of Trump and get the better of him. But you know what? I don't believe that anymore. Not for a second. And it did again. Let's go back through again. I'm going to repeat myself ad infinitum. It seems like every podcast I say this. First off, when are people going to take Trump's tweeting for what it is? It's just bluster and sometimes provocation just for provocation's sake, just so he can gauge how people are going to react to it, how world leaders are going to react to it, how the press is going to react to it, so he knows which path to walk. Yeah, no one ever, did anybody ever think of that? That he just throws something out there, tweets something just to see how people will react, and so he can react off of that. He can counterpunch off of that. Maybe that's what he does. It sure seems logical. It seems a lot more reasonable than he's a boob and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's president of the United States. How dumb could the guy be? Jeez, man. Basically, tweeting, it's been Trump's thing and will continue to be Trump's thing, and no one's ever going to talk him out of tweeting. I hope at this point. I don't necessarily care for everything he tweets, but I think there's a method to his madness if people would just sit back objectively and look at what's happening. But that's what it is. It's just tweeting, and you can't mistake his tweets for policy statements. It's completely different. Duh. And the same goes for his campaign speeches. When he gets up in front of these crowds and he's talking about the fake news and going to CNN and whatnot back there, and he says something blustery or bloviating or provocative. Nice. English. Hello. English is my second language. I'm not sure what my first is, though. Hadn't figured that out yet. At any rate, that's all it is. It's just bluster, and I think he likes to tweak the media, too. He likes to throw stuff out there and just to see how they're going to react. And I think it's freaking hilarious. Because they can never get the better of him. Because he's not a politician. He's not going to cow, and he's not going to cave like the rest. Every freaking politician has ever done, maybe except for Reagan. That's it. So some leftist college professor at UC Berkeley. Is there anything other than a leftist college professor at UC Berkeley? I think not. He wouldn't be there for very long if they found out. He said that, quote, while Mr. Trump deserves some credit, but not as much as he's taking, unquote. While the United States sanctions on Pyongyang involve the U.S. push from Ambassador Nikki Haley, that is hardly the whole story. Here we go. China's agreement to the sanctions was far more important, he noted, the leftist professor. Can I get a big duh? What compelled China to these sanctions? Did they just do it out of the kindness of their heart? Did they do it because they want to continue into their first world blossoming? No, they're doing this because of the threats from Donald Trump, the sanctions from Donald Trump, and they're doing it because of Trump. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. They wouldn't care less. They just couldn't care less. Oi. So, then he goes on to say, the leftist professor from UC Berkeley, quote, perhaps Mr. Trump recognizes that he was not the catalyst for the agreement. He also tweeted on Friday, quote, please do not forget, okay, and here's this is the proof that Trump, it wasn't Trump's deal, it was Trump isn't the cause of Kim Jong-un kind of appearing to buckle under the pressure. It was all China. And they cite as proof as Trump's tweet on Friday, quote, please do not forget the great help that my good friend President Xi Jinping of China, I love that name, Xi Jinping, of China, particularly at the border of North Korea. Without him, it would have been a much longer, tougher process, exclamation point, unquote. How about one more duh for the road? He always does this crap. He compliments his partners and tells the world how great they are, and he puffs them up, makes them feel good, makes them feel important, and makes them part of the process. Duh, that's it's a classic business technique. I mean, you'll get a hell of a lot farther if you're working as partners than adversaries. Give me a freaking break, man. And this stuff ain't rocket science. It's just not supposed to, but the left is just, they're never going to get Trump, and they're never going to get his style any more than they ever got Reagan's style. And Trump's 10 times worse to the media than Reagan is. It's just they cannot tolerate this guy, and it cracks me up because with every successive or every continued success that he has, more and more people, and that's good, that, like I said, it's good that the media keeps doing this and they keep putting this crap out that Trump's a rube and he doesn't know what he's doing and he's going to start World War III and it's going to be planetary Armageddon, and the press just keep saying what you're saying, because the more he has successes, the more he continues with successes on the way down the road, the more and more people are going to see that you people on the left are just basically stricken with Trump derangement syndrome, and you just, no matter what he does, you'll never get over it. So that's about all I've got on this glorious day, glorious weekend in New England. Hooray. Actually, no, glorious day, because tomorrow is supposed to rain. I'm actually taping this on Saturday for release on Sunday. But at any rate, this is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist signing off. I'm going to continue on my hike and push my luck a little bit more. Hopefully I won't fall and break my leg and have to hike 2.5, 3 miles back. That would suck a lot. But we'll see. If I show up here unscathed next week, yeah, you'll know I'm good. If I don't, consider the worst, brother. Yes. See ya.